And we are good to go. So, how is
Did
your
it.
day, my friend?
My day has been going great. I'm super excited to be here just because watching your stream over the past couple of
Woo!
weeks has been really, I'd say, very helpful for me on my side as an instructor to get feedback with that. So that's been a lot of fun to get into. Yeah,
Yeah, think there is a value in seeing your course or whatever your workshop experienced life. No filters on it. You know,
definitely.
pure experience, and I think there is a value to that, and also it's not inside of the team type of test. A pure student test. I think there's a value to that. I hope. Can you tell me which parts were helpful for you so I can
Oh,
note down what worked and what
totally.
didn't?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think all of it's been really valuable. Like just seeing you look through all of the course videos and have your first impressions of that, I was like, oh, okay, maybe some of this isn't named that well, which was like a great thing to start off with. But then also, I see
Yeah.
sometimes you're stuck up on something that I might have skipped over because I just kind of like expect everyone to understand it. And then, sometimes people get stuck there for like an hour and a half because, it's something that you just didn't think about. So just seeing like a Houdini from like a fresh pair of eyes, I would say is just like a really great thing to have because now I know going forward and I make more courses, like, okay, maybe I should slow down and talk a little bit about like what this hotkey is, or maybe I can have an optional toggle for what keys I'm pressing, like that you can like overlay on your stream. That would be great because I think that would
Yeah.
help a lot of people because they're like, how did you just switch windows so quickly? What was like, I know that switching windows isn't the easiest thing in Houdini if you've never done it before. I don't know if that's something you ran into. It's just something that like when I'm talking to people at like the studio and like trying to share like Houdini knowledge with them, I'm like, okay, open your spreadsheet now, and they're like, what is that and how do I do that?
What?
You can do that with like three hotkeys, right? So just like explaining stuff slower is a really nice thing to be aware of. Watching you experience like creating all this stuff and seeing how you interpret what I'm saying, it's just been like invaluable, I would say. Like I would love to have like some sort of uh official like review feedback way for the courses because I
Yeah.
think that all the feedback I can get is super valuable for making more better stuff later.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I think it's that exactly that is the value that I found into this thing mostly. Just that it helps when you see the person going through and actually reading the curriculum
Oh,
and
totally.
also uh, being stuck up on a couple of things.
Yes.
Especially when that person is completely new, fresh eyes, like you said as well. And okay, so you've mentioned all of those things, but I have to say that the recording and the actual content of the course you worked on, and I'm sure you worked on hard on it, right? I bet
Yeah.
it took a long time, and we will talk about that in a bit.
Sure.
But like the actual content, now I'm week 3 in so far, and it's filled with information. And that is what I expect from a video form, of course. I expect it to be filled with information to the point where I can't fathom anymore. And 20 minutes of video takes me literally on the stream 2 hours to understand
Hmm.
and to fix and to I played it over and over and over again. And that is what I expect from a video format. However, it was never overwhelming in a
Hmm.
way where I was like, I don't get this. I don't get what's happening. And I really have to add to the people that this course is intermediate course. It's a workshop for intermediate artists. And I jumped into it, double jumped into it, pun intended,
Very nice.
with no prior experience in Houdini at all, other than like a week of I just made I followed a course on YouTube and right in, here you go. Let's go. Let's check all those nodes out, Jack. Let's do the whole thing. But you've done a great job. I feel like you have explained every little node that you've used in, maybe there were some nodes that especially in the simulation part
Hmm.
that I couldn't understand. But hey, I was able to right click and go on help, and then I was just like reading about it, right?
Yes. Well, okay. First, I'd like to say thank you. It makes me very happy to hear. The whole goal with it was to have like enough information to where like after you're done with the course, if like someone asks you to create an HDA or you want to create your own, I was going to talk about the way you're going about learning things. I think is kind of just it's it's the way that has to be done a little bit for Houdini. But for better or for worse, like I see sometimes you're looking at trying to find that one checkbox for why things aren't working, and that'll take like an hour or two, and that's just kind of like now you have that checkbox permanently branded in your memory, right? Like you're not gonna ever forget that one checkbox again. So now you've added that to your collection of things, and next time your workflow won't be stopped by that. And it's kind of like the unfortunate thing about like learning Houdini, I think, is sometimes you kind of just have to like brute force get through it and like make those mental memories or those mental scars even for what you need to place down and why it works the way it does. So I mean, I think the way you're going about things is great, especially like as a beginner. Like you're doing all the things you need to be doing to pick up Houdini quickly, and it's just like brute forcing stuff, trying to figure out how to add on to what I've already shared in my tutorial, and then innovating based off of that and struggling your way through it until you have your final result. And then once you have that, you have a pretty decent understanding of all what the nodes before and why you placed them down the way you did. So it's kind of like you're going about it the best I can. And so I would say I really admire the determination and just plow through and understand it.
Thank you, thank you. I think part of it is that I'm live, and it kind of is. It's
Yeah.
its own way of ensuring of that I'm doing quality work because I'm doing quality stream, and if I have
Totally.
good quality commentating, I'm also hooking that and or wiring it right into my learning, and it's boosting it into 1,000%. I've had huge troubles of, and like in the past, I would buy a course, right? And I would be like, all right, Jack, that's it. This is an 8 weeks boot camp. You're going to put everything into this. Sure enough, the first week I've put everything into it. Then I start noticing that I'm falling back behind, and I'm just
Mm,
overwhelmed. And that is, I
sure.
don't know what stopped me there. I think it was that I couldn't focus, but then, the stream idea came in, and I was like, okay, just learn like you're streaming. And then I was like, why would I not stream it then? And then
Yeah.
this whole thing
Totally.
enhanced everything, and it's like you said. But hey, I'm glad that you said that this is the way to learn Houdini, because the whole time, you know, following the workshop, I was like, ah, I must be doing this wrong because those check boxes. How am I going to know? I'm
Brutal.
having this anxiety as I'm learning. I'm like, wow, am I not getting into the right way to learn this? Because it was on my agenda right now to ask you what is the proper way to learn Houdini because I'm like, I feel
Sure.
like I'm not learning it properly.
I think it's definitely a loaded question. Yeah, I would say it's definitely the right way to go about it. And then like as you get more used to like running into these giant blockades where you're spending an hour trying to figure something out, you're gonna add to your tool set on how to troubleshoot that, right? Like you're gonna learn, okay, maybe I can start hovering over the different parameter items and it'll open the little information window and you can read that and see if it's helpful for your situation. You're going to look at your geometry spreadsheet like instinctually. You'll middle mouse click on the node. You'll know like what to disable upstream to try and figure out where the problem is happening. And so it's like as you start to learn more, it becomes like an exponential process of getting quicker at debugging. And so then feeling like you don't get caught up is more. And then so you'll start to get to a point where debugging just becomes like almost part of the workflow. And it's no longer this blocker, but it's like, okay, I can fix this as I go through it. So yeah, definitely the right way, and it starts slow, and it's kind of like an exponential curve from what I feel like. It's kind of like a race to become comfortable in Houdini, I would say.
I think it's a lot in getting comfortable with messing things up, right?
Sure.
and getting
In,
comfortable.
in what way?
Yeah, and
In,
also getting comfortable in looking things up, because I
yeah.
feel like when I don't get what the node is doing, I'm basically I'm on a dead end between. Okay, so I'm gonna compare it to art, right? So when I draw, when I used to draw as a kid, I was like, drawing anime, and I was like, wow, this looks good. And then I grew up a little bit, and I arrived to Europe, and I met my mentor, Brian Limain. Is one of my best friends, and he's like an American illustrator in
Mhm.
Vienna. And I'm showing him my art. It's like all manga stuff, anime stuff, and he's like, "What is this crap?" He's like,
Oh
you're not
no.
drawing in 3D, Jack. You're not drawing in 3D." And I'm like, "What the hell does that mean?" So I had to wrap my head around this problem drawing in 3D, because I had to understand the actual problem. You know what I mean? But in Houdini, you get an error. You get an error. You can't pass. You shall not pass. But with
Yeah.
art, it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I could totally like draw 2D and people will tell me this is amazing still, right? But with Houdini, you
You
can't.
can smudge it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree, but I would also say that there are ways to hack things. You'll start to figure it out too. You'll start to put down nodes, and you'll be like, I know this is definitely not the right way to do it, and it's going to be really unoptimal, but it is a way through. And I think I forget where I heard this. It was a GDC talk, I think, but this guy was talking about how like there's a bajillion ways to do things in Houdini. Like if you're trying to do one thing, like I don't know, bevel a cube or whatever, you have 20 different nodes you can do it with, and you're almost never gonna have the most optimal option. So just be okay with the fact that you're doing it the wrong way, and eventually you'll pick it up more. Like for me, it happens all the time at work. I'm like, okay, I know I'm definitely putting down way too many notes for what I'm trying to solve, but just get through it and focus. And then later, if you really want to, you can come back and optimize. So it's kind of just like doing your best to not break that flow state. But it's really tough to do, especially when you're just starting and you don't even know what nodes to search up for.
Yeah, I agree. You touch on the point of work, and that is like a huge
Hmm.
thing for me right now. Not like finding work or whatever, but to understand the structure of how is it to fathom what technical art is at a young age, so to speak, and to know when, or like to have this curiosity about it, because it's such an inside job. Not an inside job, like don't get it that way. I'm trying to like form my
Yeah,
words
yeah,
here.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
when you're working, you get to know what technical art. It's not a performance art. It's not something you see on stage, as if like when you see I don't know, people drawing on stage. You might be able to see that, but with technical art, it's not
Mhm.
advertised. It's something when you work in the games industry mostly. So how did you get to know technical art?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll say I went to school for 2 years. I went to Gnomon, which is a really great school for visual effects, modeling, texturing, environment lighting, all that stuff. And they have technical artists there that teach, but they don't exactly teach tech art because it's such a niche thing. And so you'll have like scripting classes and Houdini classes, but none of it is like specifically tech art, how to combine scripting and Python and Houdini and all this stuff. It's like how do you make really cool explosions in Houdini or simulate a crowd, which is all really great work, but like the tech art like core, I don't think is exactly uh, taught there just because it's such a niche thing and it's really hard to get in as an entry level tech artist. I think it's kind of something you have to grow into whatever field you're doing because like everyone says it like tech art's such a broad range of jobs like that it's such a encompassing word. It's like saying I'm an artist, it's just like a huge thing. Like what does that mean? Do you draw? Do you make 3D? But from my experience, I started my work as a prop and modeling and texturing artist. So I would create like guns or whatever small character props we needed at the time. Like I made like some gas cap filters, like really small stuff that needed to look really nice for the game we were working on. But I really liked doing Houdini. And so I didn't start in my studio doing Houdini at all. I just told them I could do it, and they were like, okay, that's cool to know, but it wasn't specific to the job. And so what I started doing is whenever there was free time at work, or not free time, but like I finished up my work for the week and I had no more tasks on me, I would just start diving into Houdini and like trying to learn stuff that would specifically help our team. So like without getting too specific about it, like at the time we were kind of struggling a little bit with like a fracture tool. um like we were upgrading from Maya 2020 to like 2022 or something like that, and like our old Python script for the way we fractured wasn't working. And so I worked with our leads and whatever, and I came up with a HDA solution inside of Houdini that for our whole team to use. That's just like an all-encompassing like fracture thing. It's like it'll fracture the object how you want. It'll create the LODs for you. It'll do the UVs, collision, like all this stuff that you don't want to have to think about. So that was kind of how I found my way into tech art, I think, is just looking for opportunities on the team that you're currently on to make things faster and better. Like if you're an environment artist, maybe you want to help people with cables or something. Like everyone's sick of making cables, so you make a cable generator where you put a point on one side and a point on the other side, and all of a sudden you have cables in between. And so that's like a really great like starting tool that environment artists would love to have, I'm sure. So it's just kind of figuring out where the needs are on your team and then fixing those problems, because that's kind of like what we are as technical artists, is problem solvers. That was a very roundabout way to go about it. That's kind of how I found my way into it, and now I'm kind of more like officially a technical artist. And so like anytime our team has an issue with something, I'll try and like create like a Python script or a UI for it and to make our workflow faster. And so now it's more of like an official uh, space that I've tried to carve out for myself within our department.
It's so cool though that what attracts me to it is that it's almost not explored. It's not paved out, the way to go in and the
Totally.
way to. So the limits are still like. Here's the thing. The reason why I decide that I'm a generalist is because I hate to be put in a box. I
Sure.
like to be put
Of
in a
course.
box that is broad, and I get to explore the limits where that box is, and this is what attracts me
Definitely.
mostly to technical art. This ability to figure things on the job, but it's also quite stressful. Like you mentioned now, you kind of like, man, like you're saying things now, and I'm like, well, I have a billion question. Right? Like, for example, when you mentioned that you figured it out in Houdini, I wanted to ask, like, how many years have you had experience with Houdini at this point that you were
Sure.
able to figure that out? And did you research?
So, well, can you define research first before I go too far? Like using the internet to like figure stuff out, or?
Well, so for example, for me, research is like you have a vague idea of what you want to do, or like you know exactly what you want to do. Like, for example, in this example, it's fraction, and you want it to be a real time, and your thought process possibly was, I want to do this in Houdini, correct? Okay, so research for
Yes.
me in that way would be like, I barely know what to do, but I have an idea how to make it work. But I need to see if someone else
Yes.
made it, or created a workflow as
Sure.
such.
I would say definitely in that sense. Okay, so to start, the experience I had beforehand, I took 4 classes on Houdini at Gnomon, one per term, and there was 4 terms, so that was about a year, which was a lot of emphasis on it. You could take at most like 6, I think, if you were like in the effects track. And so I took like the games route through school, and I switched out as many classes as I could for Houdini, which was really great to do for me. And so I had a year of experience, I think, before I actually tried doing anything in a professional environment. But I felt totally uncomfortable at the time. Like I could not write a single line of Vex. I was too scared to do that just because coding was not a thing I did at all. Um, I had done like 2 big destruction simulations, I think, and I'd done, a little bit of environment creation in Houdini. So like I kind of just knew like the interface really and like how to put down some nodes, but I knew that fracturing and objects were a thing, and I just kind of went off of it from there. I was lucky to work on a very open and an open team that really supported like looking into things and trusting you to figure stuff out on your own time if you're something you're passionate about. So I just spent as much time as I could trying to learn like how do you make fractured objects better, and it kind of just get lost in the flow of it. And I started to create these like cool new things that I've actually never seen people like do before, specifically for what we had, which was really fun to figure out. Like we have like a Python script that like is attached to it where you can like point and click the different pieces and it'll merge them together, and it's really fun to figure out. But I could not have figured that out on my own. There's a bunch of other really strong professional artists that were way better than me at Houdini at the time, and I mean they still are, but they were really helpful for figuring stuff out, because like when you're in a work environment you could kind of just like ask the go-to person like questions that you have. And so I had like the effects team sitting near me and I was like, do you guys know how to write a vec script for this? You know, there are some other technical directors I could reach out to for advice on how to set stuff up. So like you have a lot of resources once you've already gotten your foot in the door into the CG industry, I think.
Yeah, I think that is the key. So not only finding or being inside of a studio, but also finding the right people around you. Because sometimes you might able to be in the industry and be surrounded with a team that is basically barely functional for whatever reason, and that could affect you know, not only your confidence, but also could affect the scope of your learning, I feel.
Sure. Yeah, I would say that's definitely a big factor to it. I mean, I was lucky to work in such a nice studio where people were like best in the world, I would say, at like Houdini or whatever they're working on. So and like even my lead is like incredible in Houdini. Like he's been doing it for like 15 years. So I have like as much like knowledge as I can draw from to help me grow. So that's been really great. But I also think that like tech art is, you know, like I said, it's so much wider than just what I'm working on specifically with like Houdini to Unreal or Destruction or procedural growth or any of that. Like you can be a technical artist in whatever department it is you care about. Like if you're a lighting artist, of course, there's going to be tons of tools you can implement to make the team's workflow better, or environment, or character. There's technical art roles in every profession, I think.
Yeah, and like you said, it's so broad and it covers so many different topics. So, for example, there are technical artists that just purely work on rigging, and others that are technical animators, so to speak. There are others. It's just hard for me to apply for a technical art position at the moment, because I still haven't yet like crystallized what I'm, because at least I feel like as a technical artist you need to have one skill that you thrive at to be able to explore the others. And I feel like your course is one of its kind, and it's your course that you recorded at Double Jump Academy. And it, for me, when I found out about it, I was like, wow, that's just take my money, because I was looking for years, literally for months. And I would say for years, because it's been 2 years since I've been willing to become a technical artist, and I haven't found that course. And I've had like, what I basically was trying to do, I was collecting potential courses that I would be attending. And it was like this 9 months journeying, collecting and paving and trying to see where ideally I would attempt, and like I ended up with budget of 8,000 or something like that, right? Because I would be attending so many courses, and also the time period is so long that I had to fear, you know, not having a job at one point and still have to learn, which would be super difficult. So when I saw your course, I was like,
very stressful.
8 weeks, and I get to learn a whole, guys, please, everybody who's listening to this or will listen to this, who is a course coordinator, please cover a pipeline. Please do it like Grayson did. Take it from the software, put it in the engine, and show the whole process. Please, everybody, I beg you, please do this. Ah,
I'm very happy to hear that. It's I mean it's exactly what I wanted to achieve too. Like just I want you to feel like you have the freedom to create whatever you want from Houdini and bring it into Unreal Engine and understand all the attributes and what's important about it and the whole idea behind it. Because like I don't know if you've been watching in the Discord community, but like people are already making like crazy stuff. Like this guy already made this boat generator just based on the fundamentals that I shared in the procedural bridge stuff. So like I think it's really cool, and like people are of course making iterations on the procedural bridge that we cover how to make and creating their own cool stuff from it already. And I wanted to circle back to what you said about not having like motivation to finish courses because I think it's a very real thing. I definitely had that too. Like I've done courses in the past and I got to like week 3 maybe out of 8, and then I just started feeling guilty because I was so behind, even though I'm sure the instructor wouldn't have cared. But I was like behind a little bit and not doing the homework on time, and I kind of just like lost interest and never finished it. And so I think that's two ways that you can kind of uh, mend that. I don't know, help fix that a little bit or help people with that lost motivation. One is like having the community that we have right now, where you see everyone uploading work and sharing feedback and helping out with each other. But I also think something I'd like to do. I don't want to like announce anything yet, but I would really like to have like a student reel type of thing from every quarter or maybe every year. I'm not sure yet, but of like all of the best innovations and work that's come out of the course that I put together. You know, it'd be like a really fun 2-minute edit with like nice music behind it of like all the best work that came out, and like of course email addresses and credits for all the work, just to have like a nice long-term motivation thing for like what you can try and become a part of. Like I think that just being able to work towards something, like when I was doing that at school, they had Gnomon best of term, which was at the end of every term they'd pick like 16 students works based on different criteria, and they'd showcase it, and it just became like a really big deal, and it's all anyone could ever talk about. It's like the final thing at the end. Like I really hope my project it gets best of term, and that's what I think for me kept me up till like 2 a.m. working on stuff every day. Is just having like this big long motivation instead of just kind of being in my own head, and I'm the only one that's dependent on finishing the work.
dude, I really like that you are mentioning other schools as well, because I'm a huge believer that this industry, I don't know what it's called, education industry, CG education industry, needs to kind of like become an industry, a one huge industry. Because what I see right now is schools that are pretending like they are the only one in the world. And I feel like just like the games industry, we need to work a bit with each other, because I think the customer will not just belong to one cult or to one school or to one entity. I think we
Yes.
can all work together. And I love that you're mentioning other names of school like Gnomon School, right? I would love to add on that, and I mentioned CG Spectrum because I was one of their students in 2022. Positive experience so far, but like I would like to mention that they are really, really helpful when it comes to the same idea you just mentioned with like, come on, dear student, you maybe don't know how to present this. Let us work together and make this render together. Let's work together. And they really put the time. They meet you. They have a Zoom call, with the other mentors and other experts, and they're like, "Come on, let's make this work." Because in the end, it benefits everybody. It benefits the industry.
Definitely.
It benefits other people explore that skill. It benefits the games industry as well. That more people are learning. You know what I mean? It just benefits everybody, and to talk about it freely and not just to be stuck in one brand, so to speak. Like when I was
Sure.
figuring out the idea, I was in contact with some schools. I was like, "Hey, I'm doing this. Would you be interested in like making an affiliate deal or whatever?" And then I got the reply with like from some schools where we're like, "It will be difficult to promote other to see you promoting other people." And I'm like, "Why? We are just one. It's just one industry. It's like,
Yeah.
if we all clap for each other, it all rises up together." and there will be more people curious. I think schools should. I'm sorry for talking too much, but like I think schools should be confident a little bit with what they offer, because I think each one offer a different product with different mentors. Because hey, if I'm interested to become your student, hey, I've had experience. I worked with Grayson. That's amazing. And then I go somewhere else and I learn from another mentor. That's also amazing, because no one is the same.
Also,
you know what I mean?
I would absolutely agree with that. Yeah, I think that just like, every school has its niche of what it's really, really good at, and it's definitely good to collaborate with other schools. I'm losing my train of thought here. I was gonna respond to something in particular that you mentioned. Oh goodness, I should have written it down. You had such a good idea to write stuff down. Yes, yes. I wanted to mention, you were talking about it benefiting everybody. It also absolutely benefits the school to encourage students to create better work, because the school's worth, I think, is only as good as the students' work that come out of it, really. So that's like your core marketing material, is what can you make out of a student? What can you teach people and help them become as an artist? And so, it's like you said, it just benefits everybody.
And it's a product, right? You're selling a dream. You're selling what this person is interested in becoming. And if you could show and showcase and help other students reach that potential, say, for example, I finished now week 8 by, I don't know, next year, because it took me a long time and I didn't have time to present my work, that I would, the school would reach out to me and be like, hey, what happened? Would you like us to work together to make it presentable? Like, how can we help? And I really love that.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to go about stuff. And then on top of that, when schools treat students well and prioritize their needs, it's another good thing. It's word of mouth, right? Like we it's you streaming stuff now and talking about how great these schools are. So just, it's great positive feedback loop. They help you for the sake of helping you. You talk about it, your friends talk about it, and it just, everything kind of just elevates together. So yeah, no harm. Oh, totally. Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, I would say I'm mainly on YouTube, but the same thing, right? Like I would not play 90% of the games that I play without watching them on YouTube first. And I am very excited to see, like, if you're gonna do like a final review of like the whole course compacted down into like whatever, like a 20-minute video or something. I think that would just be awesome. Like that's well, yeah, of course. We'll have to get to week 8 first. But yeah, I'm very excited to see that in particular. Just think that more reviews on stuff and like honest breakdowns is what people need to see, because like how else can you really trust the company and the products that they're sharing if you don't have people that, like, real streamers giving their honest thoughts on it.
Absolutely. I'm 100% with you there. And the thing is, what helps authenticity even more is having different sources of income. So for example, if I work with different schools, this will allow me to be more authentic about what I'm saying. Because say I'm just getting my let's call it potential sponsorship in the future from like one academy or one school, then my authenticity is a bit like in question, right? So it helps the major picture to just have, I mean, of course we're talking down the road, but yeah, back to your point about making a whole review about the whole course. I'm planning to do a middle one. So when I'm on week 4 and I finish week 4, I'm planning to like take whatever content I have, put it in, like squeeze it in one video, and also make like shorts out of that as well, just to show like in 1 minute what happened. Hey, we've been taking this thing for 4 weeks now. Here's what we came up with. Join us.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I love that. I think you're gonna really like week 4 too. I think it's gonna be definitely a little mind bending, but there's some really cool stuff we'll get into, and I'm looking forward to seeing you go through that. I also wanted to ask, like, if you don't mind, like how did you get into like this like whole streaming thing? Like it's definitely, it feels like a big jump like to make, especially with like how much you're doing, how much content you're creating. I know that's like a lot of time to set everything up and do all this stuff. And I was just kind of curious how you got to this position.
I will answer your question. So last year, when I was doing this structure to become a technical artist, I've noticed my passion in courses. Like I really love to look into courses curriculum. I really love to be part of that process, even if I can help somehow. And particularly streaming. Why streaming? Because I was streaming before, like 3 years ago. I used to stream just playing games. I really, really enjoyed that, but I had no one watching, right?
Sure.
Because you really need to be special to stand out in that industry. In the like
Very
streamer,
saturated.
yeah, exactly. It's hard to stand out there, especially if English is not your native tongue. My native tongue is Arabic, so took me a long time to practice English, so to speak. And then what
I
happened
believe
is
it.
there was a huge point in my life recently, like 5 weeks ago, I got laid off from the games industry. Like there's a
I
lot of
see.
layoffs right now, and so I lost my dream job, right? So from like a pure frustration, I thought, hey, Jack, maybe it's a good idea to channel all this frustration into like a positive and productive thing. And then I was like, you know what?
Totally.
I will start documenting my learning. And because I have to do it anyway, so why not stream it? And I remembered my mind was like, hey, you enjoyed this thing you did 3 years ago. And then I was like, hey, let's really do this. Let's just do it. Let's not think. Let's not think. Let's just do it. And
I love it. I
and
love
hey,
it.
here we are. You know what I mean? It's like I felt like I got something. It resonated with people somehow. I haven't even started it, and I was like in contact with 3 different schools, and they were like, "Yeah, that's interesting." And then I reached out to Double Jump Academy, as I was doing Gabriel Zagua. And I hope I'm spelling his name right. He's a VFX artist. I was doing his course, how to do VFX in Unity. I reached out to Double Jump Academy because I saw your workshop. I was like, wow, that's awesome. It's exactly what I was looking for. It happened all in
Uh-huh.
the perfect timing. And then I reached out to them, and they were like, oh, we love the idea. Let's do it. I was like, wow, no one is discussing it with me. I don't have to prove myself. I could just do it. That's awesome. And here we are. And
I love that. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, that's definitely the way to go. Like turning such a like a it's a heavy experience to have. And turning it into such a powerful and strong thing, I think is great. So I definitely respect that a lot. And yeah, I think that's something nice I really like about Double Jump is kind of like it. They're like startup culture. I feel like it. I don't know how many people they're actually working with, but it's like a team of like under 10 people, I think, and they're kind of just everything's on the table for how to stand out and how to be unique. And so like, so having this opportunity to like have you stream their stuff, I think is great for both sides. And I also don't know, I'm sure you do, but I have not seen actually a lot of people creating content the way that you are right now. Like, I don't see a lot of videos of people learning in real time. You see people teaching what they've learned, but I don't know, Jude, what do you think about that?
so I'm at the same knowledge like you are right now. I have no idea if someone did it before. The most similar part of it is software and game development streams on Twitch, which is like someone just developing a game and learning on the way. But however, they don't attend the course and they don't show the course like I do. I feel like my idea is still
Sure.
unique in what it is. It's a let's learn idea. It's not a. It's similar to a let's play. So I'm just like exploring
Definitely.
the course, right? I'm playing the course. I'm playing the workshop. At first, I was so disencouraged. I was like, I should not do this. The course coordinator will like literally put me down. This is what I thought. But I was like, well, I'm kind of just documenting my learning here, and I'm not making like tutorials out of their content, you know? So this is how it came up. I don't know. Yeah.
I'll say I actually had this thought earlier. I was like, not well, okay. So not like that, but I was thinking about it. I was like, if a student really wanted to, they could absolutely watch your stream and learn everything that I've taught in the course. And maybe I should be upset about it, but I mean, I'm not at all, because if you're in the position as a student or someone who wants to learn where you are watching your stream for every day for however long you're putting up the stream for, and they're that dedicated to learning a course, by all means, just take everything you can from that. Like if you're that passionate about learning the subject to where you'll watch someone else learn it and learn alongside with them rather than just going straight to the source content, I say, that's a clear amount of passion to where like I respect it. I mean, I want people to be able to learn as much as they can because them learning Houdini is going to create a better industry for all of us. Houdini is going to get better updates in the future because they have a bigger user base and they know what people need. We're going to all get inspiration from it. So those are kind of just my thoughts on like you streaming the course. Like it'd be different, if you were like actually showing the video on your stream, which is nice that you have it blurred out, but like being like, okay, this is what I learned, this is how we're going to learn it, is I think, it's a great innovation based on how my courses are based on just learning right from a course.
So you're not getting the source information from an expert. It's a huge minus what people think about when they see my content. They're like, oh, this guy does not know what he's doing, right? So I would say, a very limited target group, those who are really committed to either help out or to see me struggle, which is a very, very small amount of people, right? Even my YouTube shortcuts of like the edited video is filled with struggles. And I'm not sure if that would be something where people are like, okay, I'm not going to purchase the course, I'm just going to watch this guy. I think it motivates them even more because it frustrates them to see me going through all those technical difficulties and not being able to answer any question. And also when I'm going with my videos, I'm saying, oh, I asked this question, I got feedback. They wouldn't have that otherwise, because if they're going, I had people texting me on Discord, like, hey, I had this problem, how can I fix it? I was like, I have no idea, maybe just purchase the course if you would like to, or here's the affiliate.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. Yeah. No, I definitely get it. Like it definitely doesn't like a threat or by any means. It can only be seen as a positive in my mind.
I feel like it's a novel concept that's still to be explored. Like when I was reaching out to schools, one school was afraid to work with me because they were like, without mentioning them, of course, they were like, we are not sure that the quality of your content will represent our courses, and they fear that if I sucked at it, that it would represent that they didn't do their courses right. And I was like, wait. So you're telling me if someone played Dark Souls and they died 1,000 times in 1 hour, that the Dark Souls developers suck? Like, no, that's just not how it is, right?
Yeah. I get where they're coming from, but it's like, you gotta trust the quality of your course will live up to anybody who's watching it, right? Like if it says it's an intermediate course, there's a chance you can do it as a beginner, and you're obviously going to struggle. And you've mentioned 1,000 times it's an intermediate course, but you're learning through it. So maybe that's some sort of a testament to the quality of the course. And I think that's, schools need to have trust in their course and have people, like, I love companies for anything that'll just like, they're like, here's the product, they'll send it off to a YouTuber, and they're like, no strings attached, just tell people what you think about it. Like there's this guy that watches I watch on YouTube, he reviews MMOs and video games, and sometimes studios will just send him stuff, and he's like, you probably will regret this because it's not a good game. But like he respects the studio, and so do I, for putting their heart out there and having someone review it without, paying them to say good things about it. Like say what you want to say, and people will know that you're being real about it, and they'll see more value in it, rather because people can tell if you're streaming and you're just only saying good things about the course. People are gonna know, and they're gonna be like, well, I can't trust anything this guy says. On top of that, one other thing I wanted to say is you'll definitely get better at troubleshooting, like I was saying earlier, and especially on stream. I think you'll start to get to a point where it's no longer back and forth trying to figure out why something's going wrong, although it'll still happen, but it'll be like 20 minutes, 10 minutes, or even become a teachable opportunity for you as a streamer. But I'll say Houdini troubleshooting is so stressful in real time. Like, I respect you for doing that. Like teaching people live and having something go wrong. It's scary stuff. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I'm learning myself.
Sure.
And I
Sure.
have company who are like people who watch the stream. They sometimes comment like saying something like, well, did you try this and that and this and maybe try those couple of different attributes? I'm like, what? And then I just ignore the comment because I have no idea. I tell them because I'm so new at this, and you probably are frustrated because you're trying to help me here, and I just have no idea what you mean. Like, there was a guy who came in the stream from Double Jump Academy. I was like, this is an SOP, and I had to literally Google what an SOP is, which is something I should have known by that age.
Bobs, cops, mobs. It's so much. You got. They have all of it. Yeah, it's a whole lingo. I mean, yeah, Houdini is a cult. One of my first teachers said that, and it's totally true. He's like, there are people who use Houdini organically and like as a side thing to help with stuff, and then there's like the Houdini users, and it's totally a cult. So it's like they just have their own lingo and stuff. So you'll be indoctrinated over time.
So one of the things that I think about and reflect on a lot, basically 3 periods of my life. The period where I was between 7 and 12, so the child period and my interest there, and my teenage period, so between 13 and 22. It took me a long time to get out of that.
Yeah.
And the adult life. So I wanted to ask you, what were your interests in those 3 phases, starting from childhood to
That's a good question.
adulthood? Yeah.
That is a good question. Cool. Oof, I would say 7 to 12 childhood. I would say professional athlete was probably my goal. Olympian, I wanted to be an Olympic runner at that age. I definitely didn't have the qualifications for it. Very, very, I didn't know what I wanted to do at that time. I mean, I played Minecraft. I don't know. I went to soccer practice. I didn't have any big long-term goals yet in life, but I'll say around 14 is when I really started thinking about like my future and what I wanted to do. And at the time, it was personal training and content creation on Instagram, which was really cool to do, but looking back was a little bit cringy now. Like, all the content is super cringe. You can find it on my Instagram page if you scroll down. But I did okay, you can. Don't do it now though. But it was like, I'd record myself in the gym doing exercises and tutorialize them a little bit and be like, okay, this is the bench press, this is what it activates in your chest, and like the form cues and like all that stuff. And I did it to like this weird EDM music stuff because it was like cool to edit it, and I thought it'd be like a great way to grow the channel. And I mean, of course, you can't judge it too hard. I was like 16 trying to become famous on Instagram, so don't judge it too much, but it's there. And that was a great catalyst for me moving forward into what I'm doing now. I had a lot of people in high school too. Like, I knew it wasn't like something that a lot of people would like as content, and then I'm just gonna say it again. Like, it was kind of like it felt cringy at the time. And like, people would definitely give me crap about it in school. And I'm like, oh, what do you do in a new video? But I wanted to really embrace it because I feel like doing something is so much better than doing nothing when it comes to like trying to better yourself for the future. And I knew I didn't want to go to like a 4-year college after graduating high school and do like, I don't know, become an accountant or a lawyer or something. I wanted to do something special. So I never even planned to go to college to start, but the content creation from my gym videos got me into editing, which was like Final Cut Pro and After Effects. And so once I started learning those softwares, I got ads on YouTube for Cinema 4D, which was it's a really cool 3D software. I'm not sure if you've used it before, but it's like it's like Blender, but it's like an all-encompassing sort of package. Yeah. And so that's when I started learning 3D actually, and started discovering like the world of 3D art, and my interest like totally changed from fitness influencer guy to like dedicated artist. And so from there, I just kept running with what I wanted to do with my life. And I ended up building a portfolio over 2 years in high school to apply it to Gnomon. Got into Gnomon, that was, I think, around 18, which was really great, because I really wanted to get into their fast program. They have like a 2 year and a 3 year thing, and the 2 year thing is what I wanted to get into. It's like 6 classes a week rather than five, and it gets through all this content a lot faster. And it's because they want to take on people that have already had experience as an artist in that program. So like if you've already been to a 4 year school for digital art, come take our 2 year program to accelerate your stuff even further. But I kind of just wanted to like skip it and just get in there as quick as I could. So I was super excited to get into that 2 year program. And that like absolutely rocketed all of my learning, like 100%, because you're spending like 16 hours a day learning nonstop, and it's a really great environment to be in. But that's kind of where like it all really started, I guess, was like being 15, 16 and just trying to make my own way in life.
Wow.
So
A lot of questions there, of course,
that's the
but
story.
that's so cool
Sure.
that so many things have worked their way in your favor. And I think it's a lot like this in life where you don't know what you want to be, but then you try something and you kind of find at least part of it that you find, okay, I like video editing in your case, right? You liked it because
Hmm.
it was basically a bit connected to a workflow that you might be even more interested in the future, such as, like you said, you
Definitely.
jumped from a program to a program, and then you ended up with Cinema 4D, and then eventually you worked, I'm sure you worked in Houdini at Gnomon, right?
So yeah, I got into school, focused mainly on Houdini, but I didn't have a lot of portfolio pieces for it. I was just mainly really good at modeling and texturing coming out, which I was excited about, and what I used in my portfolio. And I should also mention that all of the school, except for term 1 and 2, was online because of COVID at the time. So it was a totally different learning experience than what most students are going to get. So I was just, yeah, I know. It was intense too. Like learning learning all of your stuff from online classes, totally different vibe to it. But um, it's not the same as having an in-person teacher and being around students 24/7 to help you with stuff. You were kind of on your own except for when classes met.
How
But
okay, I need to interrupt you.
and
How did that
mhm,
feel?
yeah.
How did it feel? What is the difference? Because I've never had really a real class experience when it comes to CG learning. I've always been online. So
Um,
how was it like when you met actual people? Tell us about that.
okay. So if we're talking about Nomen in particular, you're paying not only for the instructors that obviously work in the industry and are teaching you the up-to-date stuff, but you're also paying to be around those people and to know connections and to be with another group of similarly minded people and other students who are going to become your network. So like you go to the school, you make friends with the teachers, and you come out with this huge network of people that are all working in the CG industry. And so it's a really valuable thing to have. And then like on the learning side of stuff, it's great when you're in person. Like you have real time classes, the teachers are saying things, and it's like a really cool experience. They're going through the software and making the art in real time. You're following along. You have a question, they'll stop, they'll look at your screen or whatever, and give you the answer and make it into a teaching opportunity. So it's really great. You're paying a premium for it, but it's a really like very focused way to learn when you have an environment of people around you to lift you up and help you accelerate your learning.
Mm. Okay. Well, that is awesome. I really, really hope there was
Hmm.
something like this where I live. You know what I mean? It's either in
Yeah.
a language that I can't express myself fully with, because where I live,
Hmm.
people speak German. I'm not originally from Austria, so my German can take me to through a lot of social activities, but it couldn't really. I'm not confident that I have the tools to explore learning in it, in that capacity at least, like you just mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
So walk us through what happened after that. You graduated, so to speak, and how did you step your
Sure.
first? Yeah, tell us about that.
So Yeah, I guess I would also just quickly say definitely that's one of the downsides of like an in-person school. I mean, it depends on how you look at it, but you know, I had to move from Colorado to California for this school and make a lot of sacrifice to actually attend there. So you know, that's kind of a disadvantage or advantage how you look at it for in-person schools rather than online stuff. Because like you can learn as much as you want online and not have to move anywhere. So that's great. But so in term 7, or actually it's in term 8, the final term at school, there's a really great class called a Portfolio and Resume Workshop. And basically, the whole class, you're working with an artist, a teacher who's a graphic designer and really good at like marketing and all that stuff. And you're building your own website, or you know, maybe you want to make your own art station, but you're doing everything you can to make sure you have like a concentrated portfolio. And so that's where I built out my website and like put up slots to place artwork once I had it, and you know, kind of build together my portfolio to present and to send to recruiters and stuff. But luckily I took that in term 7 rather than term 8. I wanted to switch that around to have it sooner rather than later, and so I was able to start applying to jobs while still in school. So I ended up getting a offer from Naughty Dog while I was still in school. Like I think I still had like the good 3 months left of school. So it was really cool, and I was absolutely grateful for that. And that was like you know, the best job offer I could have ever asked for. But I still had to finish out school, so you know, I'd wake up, I'd start my day with Naughty Dog, and then right at 6:30 or whatever I got off of work, I would just switch my HDMI cable out to my home computer and then start doing schoolwork until like 1. So it was really rough to start, but that was sort of how I transitioned, and it was a really uh, I was very grateful for that transition because I know that sometimes it can be kind of hard to find stuff. And so for me to be able to find something while still in school is something that I try and always tell a lot of students to do as well. Because I feel like, depending on your situation, it can be pretty scary to graduate and not have anything lined up. You know, because you know, time's kind of ticking for like how long you're able to pay for rent and stuff. So like the sooner you can have a portfolio ready and have that link ready to send to a recruiter, the more likely it is you're going to succeed when the opportunity comes.
Wow. So you basically got the offer because they saw your portfolio. Did you send your stuff to them?
Yes, I did. I actually didn't even want to at first. I was like, there's no way they're gonna let me work on their team. But with my friend, one of my really good friends, were like, you'd be an idiot not to, because actually one of the leads taught at Gnomon, which is great because he knew me then. And so like, it's not to say, you know, like I only got the job because I knew him, but it was a great foot in the door because he was like, you know, you're a decent enough person. I enjoyed talking to you in school. So we got that box checked. I know you as a person. So now it's just, can you do the art?
Mostly
Yeah,
this, honestly, it's mostly in the games industry. Are you a good person? Are you like a person that I could trust? It's a lot about trust. Can I communicate with you?
absolutely.
Can we joke? Because it's quite stressful, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's a perfect environment in a
it's
learning
important.
environment because they see, okay, they see you under stress, right? And I think
Absolutely.
you left a good impression there. That's why you basically had your foot already in the door, so to speak. And yeah, your friend was right. You would
Definitely.
be not.
Not to not do it. I mean, that's the thing, right? A lot of people get scared too. Like they think that their stuff's just not good enough, but the worst you're gonna get is a letter back that says no. And if you're lucky, they'll send you back some advice for how to do better in the future, or like talk to us in 6 months once you've updated your portfolio with this. Some of the good companies will do that for you and give you a little bit of advice from like the recruiters or whatnot. And so you can always take that and, you know, try again in the future or apply that to your next search or your next application.
In any role where you review recruiters or what are they called recruiters or like new people that want to come to the job,
Recruiters?
recruiters, yeah, are you in that position right now where you look at their stuff and you can evaluate and say, maybe not, maybe yes?
Not really. I would say professionally, no. Um, I mean, I think maybe our team's in a place where we see someone's work, like if a lead sees their work, he'll like show it to the rest of the team. It'll be like, "What do you guys think?" and then maybe we'll sit in on a meeting with the interview and like make sure we don't have any problems with the person. But like we're very far out of the loop in terms of like, does it like, I'm just not like a level where I can tell people like recruiters, this guy should have the job. Like it's not my decision.
Okay, yeah, no, I get that part, but I was more wondering if you know what goes into it. I think a lot of people wonder like what goes into that
like,
process, what attracts. Yeah.
Oh, what attracts recruiters? I would say my experience has been make stuff that stands out, and that's very much easier said than done. But when you make your portfolio pieces, if you're making an HDA, just think outside of the box a little bit. Like I try and share that in the course too, like how to do that, because you've seen, maybe you haven't, but I've seen at least 100 procedural vine generators at this point, which are really cool. You draw your curve and it'll grow the ivy from that, and it's awesome. But I've seen it so many times now to where it's like, well, it's just another one. It could be really well executed, but I've seen it before. So if you're able to innovate on that idea, which is what I kind of try to do in the course a bit with procedural infection, where instead it's like this gross, blobby mass of stuff that grows, and it's like alien. That's all of a sudden more unique and stands out and will catch people's eyes online, and people are going to share it and repost it or whatever. I think that like LinkedIn has been really nice for me, just because when you create content, a lot of people will see it and they'll share it and they'll repost it, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, that's how I got reached out to by Double Jump, actually, is they were like, oh, this looks dope, can you make a course on this? So I think, first off, have a portfolio ready at all times, no matter where you are in your career. Even if you have no artwork, at least have a place where you can put your artwork as soon as you have it finished. And then breakdowns are always very important to me. I don't, but more important than that is getting people to take a look in the first place. How do you make your stuff stand out? And so that's where all the presentation comes in, especially as a technical artist. Like, you need to have appealing work for people to look at. It can't just be technically impressive if you're going to be a technical artist. It has to be art too, right? So, I think it's very important to put time into the environments or the lighting or the rendering behind your HDA or whatever you're showing off. Or if you're showing off like a user interface that you scripted, that's definitely way more technical. But you need to have really nice breakdowns of how you did it and show it in a very elegant way, so that people, they're impressed by it. It can't just be your HDA on a black background or something. I don't think, maybe some people are okay with that as recruiters, but for me, if I was looking at people's work, I want to see the love behind it more.
How much do you feel like from that presentation, say for example, we've created now the bridge, right? And I've basically downloaded an environment asset, correct? And I'm connecting the bridge that I created from a rock to the different rock, or from a cliff to a cliff that I haven't made. Mm-hmm. How problematic it is, and I have to ask that. I know the answer to it, but I have to ask you.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of artists like are super afraid. They feel like they have to do everything on their own. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you already know the answer, but my stance, and I think a lot of other stances, is it's just, we stand on the shoulders of giants, right? Like we're benefiting from all the work from people have previously done before us. So if you're using Megascans or pre-downloaded assets, as long as that's not the focus of your shot, as long as that's not what you're showing off and being like, this is what I did, and blatantly plagiarizing someone else's work, it's there for you to use and to complement your art, right? Like, download all the Megascan assets, make your environment look cool, but focus on the thing in the center that you're trying to share with everybody.
Absolutely. You can even have like some nice filters where it makes everything black and white or whatever. You can play a little bit with the fog of war, anything you could do, but don't just have cubes, basically. That's how I feel about it. You can, but definitely. At least have some interesting lighting. And it comes from an artistic background from my end. Of course, the camera is not working right Absolutely. Now in our Discord, but I have lighting, right? I'm presenting something here. Totally. I'm not going
Absolutely
with like a window behind me and just blinds the camera or something. And
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I've seen your videos. I've seen the scaffolding are they called around the building when they're still building it? I mean that the
Yes.
the presentation of that thing when you move it around in an S and in a curve and then straight again. How did you do that? Like, I'm really curious. We only have 50 seconds basically.
Sure. Oh, well, you can stop the timer. We'll talk a little more, but so we're not speed running it. Are you talking about like the tech behind it or a presentation behind it?
Presentation. I think tech will be too much, but like, you know,
Sure.
how long did it take?
Well, I'll say this: if you're looking on my website, you can totally scroll through and I break it down as best as I can on GraysonFX.com. So like if you just go to my portfolio, you can click on it and there's like all the breakdowns of the nodes. But in terms of presentation stuff, uh, well, okay, first off, I should say that most of the environment is Kitbash. I really like their 3D assets. I think I talk about that a little in the course too, but I really like downloading their assets and then building my own cities around it because all of their stuff is really high quality and has a unique feel to it. But in terms of like actually setting up the presentation shots for it, it was really just a matter of like having fun with the tech I'd already built for the scaffolding and finding unique ways to use it because the procedural scaffolding I generated was inspired by a Houdini video that showcases it on their project. Project Titan was the name of it, and they have a scaffolding generator in there, which is really cool. Yeah, and so theirs is great. And I've seen a lot of other ones online, but I haven't seen any ones that do like spline based placement where you can curve it around stuff and then it'll like scatter more assets on top of it. So like that sort of presentation of it was kind of my innovation on how to make mine feel more unique and like it stands out because a lot of the generators I see will have this beautiful artwork, but the extent of it is you place down a box and it fits the scaffolding to the box. So when you add more features to it, then it's something new that people haven't seen before, and maybe you'll catch a couple more eyes with it.
Wow. I think you hit it on its head, right? When you said that you were having fun with the tools with the tool that you created. I think that is the key. Have fun with it. Show that you were having fun with it, and they will feel it, man. They will see, oh, this guy's having fun. Definitely. All right, we want to hire this guy because it's always like it's obviously that this guy's having fun with the tools that he's creating. I have a couple of questions still, but I don't know if you still have time. Otherwise, I would
let's do one more.
One more. All right, cool.
One more. Let's do one more.
We talked about your connection with technical art, and I wanted to go into that, but let me see what else did I have here noted down.
Have at it. Yeah.
What is okay? So I want to go deeper a bit with the technical art aspect. When was the moment where you realized, oh, I'm a technical artist?
That's definitely a loaded question too. There, I would say, oh man, because it's so fluid, right? With like what I already do, like I went right from props into props technical art and destruction a little bit too. But I guess once I made a tool for other people and they actually used it, that's kind of, and then I realized I could do more of that, like to make something that's not only useful for yourself but for other people too, is like that's kind of like a really big like whoa type of moment for me. And I think a lot of people experience that too. It's like you see people using the thing that you made and it's making their lives better. And for me, I can't imagine anyone wouldn't like this feeling, but that was a really great feeling to feel so valued on my team and to feel like I had like a purpose for it. So I think that once you've started to get to where you're creating workflows for other people is when I would consider, for my role at least, and what I specialize in, is when I became a technical artist.
Wow, that's a great answer, my friend. I hope one day we'll get there. All of us who want to be technical artists or totally. Generalist artists. By the way, the name of the podcast will become The Generalists. So I'm really looking forward for that. The Generalists. So I would love to have people on that.
The Generalists.
That are generalists or want to be generalists or technical artists. Anyway,
Okay.
Grayson, thanks for joining the Generalists episode 1. I really appreciate that you have joined episode 1. It means a lot to me.
Episode 1. So happy to be here.
Let's kick this thing off, right?
Making history.
Yeah.